All right, so my name is Andrew Lavassie Wood, and I'm a legislative assistant with the HRM clerk's office. I'm going to be proceeding with serving as acting chair for this meeting, for this April 21st, 2022 meeting of the Youth Advisory Committee. As our chair, Ellen Smith is not able to attend tonight's meeting. So as we proceed, prior to starting with the meeting, what I'd like to do is I'll call the meeting to order now at 5:07 p.m. And I will just proceed with doing a roll call and an AV check, so an audio visual check for the members of the committee that are present. So I will start with Abraham Amusaya. Are you present in the meeting, Abraham? Just unmute your mic.
Yes.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And so next is Carter Barbs.
Hi.
Hi, Carter. Next, Jane Elliott.
Hi.
Hi, Jane. And then we have Truly Love.
Hi.
Hi, Truly. Next, we have Zoya Hussein.
Hi.
Hi, Zoya. Welcome. And then we have Cyril O'Brien.
Present.
Hi. Thank you very much. And then we also have Becca Bishop, who is our staff contact. Becca, you're present?
I am, yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So I'll then move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the committee check-in. So I will just basically just check in with everybody and see how folks are doing and what's keeping everyone busy. So I will start with Cyril.
Sorry, could you just repeat that? My audio cut out for a second.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm just doing a quick check-in with all the members of the committee, just to see what's going on with everybody and what's been keeping you busy.
No new updates other than exam periods have been finishing up for the university students. So congrats to everyone in university that's finished their second semester.
Yeah, that is good. Well, finished for the school year. Hopefully, if no one has summer school to deal with, that's for sure. And then Zoya, how are things with you?
Same for me. I'm studying for IB exams that are coming up in like 2 weeks. Pretty stressful.
Oh yes, I can imagine. Okay, thank you, Zoya. Truly.
Yeah, same for me, studying for exams and finishing up my term with our student union. So busy
Great.
training.
Yes. Okay, Jane?
Yeah, I've been pretty busy this week with dance rehearsals that I'm a part of and schoolwork, so lots going on.
Okay, that's great. Carter?
I'm good. I finished a little bit early. I didn't have any exams, so that was fun.
Oh, that is great news. Okay, awesome. And then we'll move on to Abraham. How are things with you?
Everything's going well. I got my report card today, and
okay, great.
Yeah, and I've been having a lot of work. Like today, I had 2 quizzes. It's just school. Everything's just busy right now.
Well, I'm glad to hear that people are able to join the meeting, especially with being so busy. We really appreciate it. Okay, so since we have quorum, we'll move on to our next item on our agenda, which is the approval of minutes. And these minutes are from May 20th, 2021 and July 19th, 2021. So does anyone have any changes or corrections that they wish to make to the minutes?
So Andrea, none of these committee members were on the committee then.
Okay, we can still have some motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
So we're good. Okay. So can I have a mover to approve the minutes of the May 20th, 2021 and the July 19, 2021 YAC meetings?
I move to approve.
Okay, so that was Cyril or Abraham?
Cyril.
Cyril? Okay, thank you. And can I have a seconder?
I'll second.
And can you?
It was truly.
Truly? Thank you. All right, so we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor say aye or raise your hands, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, awesome. So that motion is passed. Next, we'll move on to item 4, which is the approval of the order of business and the and approval of additions and deletions. From the clerk's office, there's no additions or deletions to the agenda. Are there any requests for additions or deletions or changes in the order of the business from committee members? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the order of business as presented.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, thanks, Jane. And a seconder?
I'll second. It's Cyril.
Okay, thank you, Cyril. All right, so I'll call for the question. So all those in favor say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Okay, and I have other hands raised in the chat and on the screen. So thank you very much. That motion passes. So the next item on the agenda is business arising out of the minutes. There's none. Next, we have item 6, which is the call for declaration of conflict of interest. So are there any committee members that have a conflict of interest to declare as a result of an agenda item? Okay, hearing none, we're finished with that item, and we'll move on to the next item, which is consideration of deferred business. There's none. And then we'll move on to correspondence, and I can confirm that the clerk's office has not received any correspondence for this meeting. Next is petitions. We haven't, the clerk's office has not received any petitions for this meeting, and there's no presentations for this evening's meeting as well. And then next, that brings us to item 9. This is the part of the meeting that goes really quickly. So, which is information items brought forward, and there's none. And now we will move on to the meatiest part of our meeting, which is reports and discussion, which is item 10. And the first, and these are reports from staff. And the first item on this is 10.1.1, which is the proposed 2022 Youth Advisory Committee meeting schedule. So the draft meeting schedule was circulated to the members of the committee. So has everyone had a chance to review the meeting schedule? Okay, does anybody have any issues with the meeting schedule, with the draft meeting schedule? Or is everyone good with those dates? Okay.
Andrea, can you tell us what the process is if we get to one of those months and it doesn't work for everybody?
Yeah, sure, I'll do that, Becca. So typically what will happen is we have these dates we do an agenda review meeting with Annie, actually, who's the legislative assistant for the committee, with Becca, who's the staff contact, and with the chair to determine whether or not there's any items coming forward for that month's meeting. If there is, then we set an agenda for that scheduled date. If there's been a lot of people have emailed to say that they're not able to attend the meeting, where we're not going to have, say, a quorum of 5 members. If we know we're not going to have 5 members at a meeting, then we would consider rescheduling the meeting, maybe most likely to the next meeting date. So that's typically how it works. And then also the meeting dates in the summer, so July 21st and August 18th, those are set as if required dates. So if there's no pressing matters coming from staff or from the committee, then typically we won't have meetings during the summer unless there's something that the committee wants to meet to discuss. And then there's no meeting scheduled for the month of December. So does anybody else have any other questions about the draft meeting schedule for 2022? Okay, no, so I will then call for a mover to approve the 2022 meeting schedule as presented. Do I have a mover?
I can motion to approve. It's Truly.
Okay, thank you, Truly. And a seconder, please.
I can second.
All right,
Carter.
thank you. Okay, thank you, Carter. All right, so I will call for the question. All those in favor say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Okay, anyone opposed? Okay, so that motion passes. So we do have a schedule now. Thank you, everybody. Now on to item 10.1.2, which is an overview of the role of the chair. Now, Annie did a great memorandum kind of briefly summarizing the role of the chair. So basically, I'll just briefly go over this, and I just give me a moment here because someone, I believe Solomon's trying to join the meeting, so I'm just going to promote them. Hi, Solomon. I'm trying to promote you in Zoom. You're probably getting a prompt asking for you to accept the promotion to panelist. So please click OK, and then you'll be promoted to panelist to join the meeting. I'll try it one more time. Okay, there we go. So welcome, Solomon. So if you can turn on your mic and your video, and we can confirm that those both work. And we'll welcome you into the meeting. Hi, Solomon. Hi,
Hey.
welcome. How are you this evening?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. So I'm Andrea. I'm filling in for Annie this week because she's a little under the weather.
Yeah.
And I'm also acting as chair this evening because Ellen's not able to attend tonight's meeting.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, great. So we have approved the draft minutes that needed to be approved. We've also approved the agenda for tonight's meeting, and we've also approved the meeting schedule for 2022. So the next item on our agenda is the overview of the role of the chair. And the purpose of this discussion is to basically just inform all of you, because most of you, I think all of you present tonight are new members to the committee. So we just want to give you a better understanding of what the role of the chair is and what the duties of the chair are, in case anyone is interested in running for chair and vice chair at next month's meeting in May, because that's when the election of chair and vice chair will happen. So, and basically Annie's provided a memorandum on this discussion as well. So the memo and what I'm going to discuss this evening is basically a supporting document for the orientation that you already had at the end of March. So basically the chair and the vice chair are elected members of the committee, or elected by members of the committee. And in order for a member of the committee to be considered for the position of chair, a motion is required by the committee. And this motion must be seconded by another member of the committee. And then basically people will nominate a member to become a chair or vice chair. And it's up to the person being nominated to accept or decline that nomination. You don't have to feel obligated if someone nominates you as chair to accept if you're not feeling comfortable to fulfill that role. And then once the nominee accepts that vote, the committee will then vote on the nominee. There will then be an opportunity for other nominees to be put forward. And if there's more than one nominee, then that nominee is confirmed by the committee. So if there's more than one person, then there will obviously be a vote. And then that person, if there's once the person is selected by the committee, the legislative assistant then will then confirm the chair. And after the chair has been confirmed and voted in, the chair will then repeat the election process for the position of vice chair. And that will be at next week's meeting. So I encourage anybody, if you're thinking that you might be interested in pursuing either the chair or the vice chair position, and you have any specific questions after what I discussed this evening, please reach out to Annie by email or by phone, and she'll more than happily answer your questions. So specifically in terms of what are the chair's responsibilities, the chair is responsible for leading the meetings of the Youth Advisory Committee and working with the legislative assistant, Annie Sherry, and the staff liaison, who's Becca Bishop, between meetings. So during a meeting, the chair calls the meeting to order, like I did at the beginning of the meeting, leads the committee through the agenda, seeks motions as appropriate, directs any votes that happen, and ensures that all members have an opportunity to have input in a respectful and appropriate manner. So basically asking people if they have any questions or comments, and also going through the roll call of names to give everybody an opportunity to speak during a meeting. And then after all the business of the meeting's been concluded, the chair adjourns the meeting with a motion from the membership. So outside of meeting, the chair works with Annie, the legislative assistant, and Becca, the staff liaison, to develop and approve the agenda at a monthly agenda review meeting. And these meetings are often held via Teams. And the chair also represents the committee with counsel. So you would sign reports that are coming from the Youth Advisory Committee, making recommendations or providing advice to council. You would also handle any media inquiries that the committee receives with input from HRM Corporate Communications. So the vice chair also plays an important role, because if the chair's absent, they then assume the role of chair and the vice chair also attends the monthly agenda review meetings with the chair and with the legislative assistant and staff liaison. So they are aware of what's going on and help make decisions in terms of determining what's going to be on the monthly agenda. So does anybody have any questions about that? No? Okay, so we will now proceed on to the next item on our agenda, which is the main reason for why we're meeting tonight, and that's the brainstorming session for your 2022 work plan. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of give everybody an overview of what your obligations, what the objectives are of the Youth Advisory Committee, and what your duties are, in order to kind of provide you some guidance in terms of what sort of priorities you might want to consider for the committee. So just give me a minute, because I'm going to screen share those. Okay. All right. All right. So can everybody see the screen now with the administrative order that created the Youth Advisory Committee? Can everyone see that on their screens?
I don't see it.
No? Okay. Oh, there we go. I didn't hit share. So can everybody see it now?
I can see it now, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it works now.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so the objectives of the Youth Advisory Committee is exactly that. You're a committee that provides advice to regional council through the Executive Standing Committee. Now, the advice that you provide to council is guided by the following objectives. First, the full participation of all youth in civic and community affairs by ensuring that policies, programs, and services do not impose barriers to such participation. You also help to increase civic and community awareness regarding youth communities within the municipalities by promoting effective communication. Another objective is the elimination of barriers facing youth. And the final objective is the provision of an equitable opportunity for the municipality's youth communities to voice their views on youth and other issues affected by monitoring the effectiveness of the municipality's policies, programs, and services. So basically, these are your main objectives. And it's basically, they basically guide the type of advice that you would be providing to regional council. Now, in terms of the duties of the committee, which is number 6 under your terms of reference, these duties is basically how the committee gets their work done, how you will fulfill your objectives. So the committee shall advise council through the executive standing committee on matters related to youth as follows. A, you identify and advise on youth access to existing and proposed municipal services and facilities. B, you advise and make recommendations about strategies designed to achieve the objectives of the committee. And C, you receive and review information directed to it by council and its committees and to make recommendations as requested. So basically, when council asks the committee for its opinion on municipal projects, like the regional plan, which they brought to Youth Advisory Committee for your consideration in 2021, that's when you kind of provide your advice and provide council with the youth community's perspective on various elements of the municipality's programs and services. So that's pretty much kind of like just a very overarching thing that guides your role as an advisory body. And I'm just going to stop sharing that. So does anybody have any questions about those items? No? Okay. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the work plan, the draft work plan itself. Okay, I'm just going to open up one that's probably a little bit better to see. Just give me a moment. Okay, so can everyone see that?
No, I can't see it.
No, it would help for me to actually press the share button again. I don't really share the presentations too much because it's usually staff members that give these presentations and they are very skilled at doing this. And unfortunately, I'm not tonight. So my apologies. So here is the draft work plan from 2021. So these priorities were identified by the Youth Advisory Committee at their May 2021 meeting. So these are basically meant to be a starting point for you to consider going forward with the 2022 plan. You can decide that you still want to have these be your main priorities going forward for 2022. You can also add to them if there's anything that you see as an important objective for the municipality for you to consider for the youth in HRM. So the first one up is mental health accessibility for youth, especially with COVID-19 issues. So basically what we're doing tonight is kind of brainstorming the priorities that that the committee would see as being important going forward for this year. And then what will happen after we do this brainstorming is that Annie will review them and see how they align with the committee's terms of reference, and then prepare the draft work plan for 2022. So for this priority, mental health accessibility for youth, especially with COVID-19, how this aligns with the committee's terms of reference, that it pretty much goes with all of the committee's objectives in section 5 and with the terms of reference in section 6, which 6A, sorry, which is the identifying and advising council on youth access to existing and proposed municipal services. So the resources required of other service provider, and also Annie will identify what other resources need to be provided by service providers or government or funds. So to properly address the mental health accessibility for youth, this could be done through representatives from Parks and Recreation, the Diversity and Inclusion Office, Heartwood, and as well, this identifies that Stacy Smith, who's a committee member, she also runs their own organization that deals with mental health accessibility. So there's also a time frame set for this. And there was a desired income identified for this, which included inviting business units and organizations in HRM working in the mental health accessibility area to make presentations to the committee, and also to prepare information for the committee so that you could prepare recommendations to the executive standing committee. And then there's also some indication here in terms of what would serve as measuring how well this priority is accomplished. So Annie indicates here that it would be, the number of business units or organizations that have presented to the Youth Advisory Committee on mental health accessibility, and information gathered and passed on to the Executive Standing Committee. So the other priorities identified are systemic racism for Indigenous, Black, African, and African Nova Scotian communities. And that aligns with several sections of the committee's terms of reference. And basically the person who would be responsible for this is all committee members. So the resources identified as helping the committee address this issue is by seeking presentations from the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. And the third and final priority identified in 2021 was the lack of access to programming and opportunities for youth in rural and lower income communities. And basically the resources that are required to help the committee pursue this priority was representatives from the Parks and Recreation Business Unit, as well as Heartwood. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen, because now what we're going to do is we're going to, I'm going to share the link for this. Just one moment. Just trying to close this. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share that the link that we have to the Google Jamboard, which is the web-based whiteboard that, just one moment, there we go. Okay, so I'm just going to put the link in the chat for everybody to use. So there's the link for the Jamboard that we can start using for brainstorming. If people want to kind of write down their ideas for priorities, we can also kind of go through a discussion as well. And we have another member that's joined the meeting. Oh, it's Solomon. He must have dropped off again. All right, there we go. Solomon. I'm just trying to promote you to panelist. Okay. All right. There we go. Hi, Solomon. So everyone, I've put the link to the Jamboard in the chat, which we can use. And I believe, Becca, you've raised your hand. So do you want to talk about the Jamboard?
Yeah, I was just going to say, can I give a little bit of an introduction to
that would be perfect.
Yeah. So the idea of this activity today is really to understand what your vision of the committee is, because that last work plan was done by a different set of youth. And so we really just want to pick your brain, seeing like what impact you want to make, what kind of change you want to make. And then once Annie and I look at it, we'll come back to our next meeting and really like identify what the priorities are. This is just a brainstorm, but it's a fun little exercise to get you thinking kind of outside of the box. So I'm going to get you all to close your eyes for 1 minute. In 2 years, when your term is up, after the Youth Advisory Committee has ended, you're scrolling through Instagram and you come across a post that says, the Halifax Youth Advisory Committee ... So looking at the Jamboard now, you're going to think of what was the impact you made? What did you advise council on? What municipal services and facilities did you impact? What youth were involved? And come up with a fun headline. In the bottom corner, you can see a hashtag. We really just want to dig apart what's the final product and final outcome of what you want to do with the committee. So if you go on, have you all used Google Jamboard before? I'm guessing most people have. So if you haven't, Carter, I think you shook your head. You're able to go on the sidebar and press sticky note. You can type on the sticky note and drag it on different parts of the Jamboard. And Andrea, could you share the screen to the Jamboard as well?
I'm just going to start doing that now.
Okay.
There.
Awesome. Okay, so that's good. So if everyone wants to take a few minutes and take a few sticky notes, think about why did you apply to this committee? What was the impact you really wanted to make? Kind of like the things that Andrea just reviewed, mental health, racism. What are some of those key things that you want to do to make an impact? So we'll just take about 5 minutes. Is 5 minutes okay, Andrea?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay. Does everybody know where the sticky notes are?
Okay, so Becca, are the sticky notes kind of like on the, oh, right here.
Right there, yeah.
There.
Yeah. So let's only use the first slide. At the top, it says there's 5 slides. So just use the first one. Click your sticky note, drag it over. I don't see any sticky notes yet. There we go. Now we're in action. So when you're thinking about the impact, think of what has changed for youth. What has the municipality done differently for the issue that you're looking to make a change in? Okay, I'll give you 2 more minutes. Okay, 1 more minute. Has everyone got to do at least one? Thumbs up. Okay, cool. So let's take a look at them now. I'm going to read each of them. Or maybe if you all want to read your own, that might be best. And then what we're going to do is we're going to vote on our top 2 or 3 priorities. So we'll read them all, everybody read their own, and then we're going to use the marker and you're going to circle the 3 of them. And those will be the 3 top priorities, whoever has the most votes. Annie and I will then put them into kind of that template that Andrea has showed. And then in our next meeting, we'll get into more detail on really what the specific priority is. So does anyone want to read theirs first?
Read mine.
Great.
All right. Mine is having different ways to reach out to youths. For example, having posters at school so that they are more involved in the community.
Awesome. So more about communication, getting the word out, that sort of thing?
Yes.
Awesome. Who wants to go next?
I can read mine. I have advised the Executive Standing Committee on how to continually incorporate input from youth of all races, genders, and ability levels in Halifax's Climate Action Plan, as well as creating accessible resources and taking an active role in fighting body dysmorphia and eating disorders in youth.
Awesome. I think that one will fall nicely under the mental health piece as well. Who wants to go next? I'm going to make you all go. So
I can go.
You can go.
One of mine was fighting food insecurity in youth with possible outreach to the farmers markets in HRM. So I think that's a big thing that's come up. Well, I mean, it's always been present, but I think especially with the with inflation, especially in the last year. I know the report came out a few days ago. I think Canada's inflation year over year was 6.7%. I think in March. So it's just stuff like that where just it's an issue that affects youth, and I think one thing we could possibly do is maybe reach out to some of the farmers markets. So I know that the Fairview Farmers Market I know they were having a program this year called Market Bucks. From my understanding, it's basically they give out, I think, $300, at least that's what it was last year, in food coupons for the farmers market, and they give that to families in need. And they I think it's basically in the form of a study where I think they have people do surveys before and after they give them the market bucks. And I think that's something where usually farmers market, you think it's super expensive, but this is just anecdotal evidence, so nothing really to back up within my experience. But I find that nowadays, almost the farmers market food is just as affordable as like the Sobeys or superstore foods. Like I find especially greens and stuff like that, the prices are pretty comparable just because of what's going on at Sobeys. But that was kind of my contribution to that.
yeah, that's great. Thank you. Who's next?
I can go next. So I had advocating for more affordable housing, rent control, specifically geared at access to student age housing. Obviously, that is more of an impact for youth on the older end of the scale, but rent is a little bonkers right now, and lots of people are going to be graduating into university age and not being able to find anywhere to live. And then I also put something I just don't really see in the HRM is 2S LGBTQ plus inclusive emergency housing for youth. I know we do have some, but some more intentional resources, and especially considering the housing crisis, would be nice to see. It's often a community group that I find gets missed in housing advocacy.
Great, thank you. We have two more, I think.
Oh, I can go next. Oh wait, my sticky note didn't send. 1 second. So my point was kind of related to, I think, Cyril and Truly's, where I thought that if there was one place where youth could kind of have access to everything they need when they're transitioning towards self-reliance, like maybe when they're moving out of home or when they're getting their job, getting out of university, and just, I guess, food and housing and even other basic necessities would go into that as well. Yeah.
Great. A lot of these things are really going to fit into some of the work that Parks and Rec is doing. So I think there'll be a lot of alignment here. Carter, do you want to do yours?
So I wrote about making safe spaces. I listed two, but in general, I just meant any like groups of people that like maybe don't have a safe space already.
Yeah, that's great. And again, that kind of does align with some of the youth services and spaces that we're doing with Parks and Rec that will come to the committee for feedback on making places more safe. So that's great. Okay, so if you all go to the marker on the left-hand side, you're going to go through and you're going to choose 3 that are your top priorities. And then I'm able to save the PDF and I'll send it to Annie and we'll review it and come back to you at the next meeting. And I can't see what you're circling. So like, I can't see if Zoya circles one thing, I can't see that it was her that did it. So don't feel like I'm like watching what you're going to vote for. And Andrea, is there anything else that would be useful in this session, or is it okay to bring this back to Annie and her and I kind of put it in that template that you have and go back to the committee with a draft?
Yeah, I think that probably would be the best.
Okay.
All right, so it looks like we're making quite a bit of good progress.
Yeah. So when you all have circled 3, can you do a thumbs up? Truly, have you had a chance to do it?
Yes, sorry, my computer's just being difficult at the
That's
moment.
okay. Okay, so Abraham, did you do yours?
Yes, I did.
Awesome. And Carter, you're done as well?
I did as well. I just can't find the thumbs up. But I'm done.
Okay, great. So I just want to, out of curiosity, what do we have here? Yeah, so a lot of stuff around accessibility, affordable housing. So some of this already aligns really nicely with what Andrea already kind of went over from the last work plan. But yeah, this is great. And again, thank you, Andrea, for leading us up to this process. I wouldn't have been able to do it without you or Annie. So what are the next steps then? Is there something else on the agenda for today?
No, this was it for the agenda.
Okay.
So I guess where we have 5 identified, Becca, do you want to kind of just, because my screen's quite small, so I can't really read the stickies. So do you want to identify the 5 priorities that were identified by the committee members?
Yep. Advocating for more affordable housing, rent control, access to student housing. Advise the Executive Standing Committee on how to continually incorporate input from youth of all race, genders, and abilities in the Halifax Climate Action Plan. Fight food insecurity in youth with possible outreach to farmers markets. Advocating for raising awareness about sustainable and affordable resources for youth, especially when transitioning to self-reliance. And mental health accessibility for youth. Yeah, mental health accessibility.
So what was the 4th one again?
The 4th one was fighting food. Did you get the fighting food security?
Yes.
Okay, then the other one was advocating for and raising awareness about sustainable and affordable resources for youth when transitioning into adulthood, essentially.
Okay, I think those are great. So I'm just going to stop sharing this for a minute. So Becca, is it possible for you to share this, the Jamboard results with the committee, or will it always be available on the link?
No, I'm going to download it as a PDF, and maybe should I send it out to them, or does that come from the clerk?
I would say send it to Annie and she can circulate.
Okay, perfect. Cyril, did you have a question?
No, sorry, that was for the thumbs up. For the thumbs up.
You were high-fiving?
Yeah.
Okay, so does anybody else have any other questions or comments to make on what's been identified on the Jamboard? No. Okay, so I think we're good on that. Would you say, Becca?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can return to the meeting. All right, so that is it for what's on our agenda this evening. So, so there weren't any added items, and the date of the next meeting is May 19th, 2022. I just want to start the committee checkout, which is kind of the second last thing on the agenda. So I will start. So basically just asking everyone how they feel about today's meeting and what was accomplished today. So Solomon. Or are you still having issues with your with Zoom? Okay, so I'll move on to Cyril next, and we'll maybe get back to Solomon.
Yeah, no, I like that we were able to kind of put in a few potential areas of interest to kind of work on for the next year or two, which that was super important to kind of to start with. I think it was also nice to see everyone, the perspectives that everyone brings, because I know there's a few points in the post-its that I wouldn't have thought of. So I think it's great just seeing the perspectives that everyone brings to the table.
Okay, great, thank you. Zoya?
Yeah, I was really happy with this meeting and I loved everyone's ideas. They were different, but I think I definitely agree that every single one of them are important to address. So it doesn't really matter to me which one we pick. I will definitely support all of them.
Truly?
Yeah, it was really nice to get to hear from everybody. Didn't get a chance to come to the last meeting. And yeah, just really excited about getting to work on some of this stuff. A lot of the concerns and interests for approval that I have, clearly a lot of other people have too. So yeah, really nice to see everybody's faces as well.
Okay, thank you, Truly. Jane?
Yeah, similarly to everyone else, it was interesting to hear everyone's perspective and to see that while there are a lot of different ideas, they're all kind of fitting into the same kind of along the same lines. So I think that'll work nicely when trying to develop like priorities and goals, and I'm excited to flesh them out even more.
Okay, Carter?
I want to second what Zoya said because I agree everything on that list is important and I would support any of them.
Okay, great. And then Abraham, how was tonight's meeting?
It was really good. I like the way that we were able to come up with different ideas, and like we were able to, I was happy to see everyone's faces because with the COVID now and everything, it's hard. And I'm really happy with the progress we've made.
Okay, great. And then I'll go back to Solomon. Do you have anything that you want to say about tonight's meeting?
Yep, I just think that it's really cool that all of us kind of have the same like goals, and it's encouraging that we're together, and I'm looking forward to more of these.
Okay, great. All right, so we're on to the last item of the night, which is adjournment. So anyone wish to move adjournment?
I'll move.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll say goodnight to everybody, and you'll hear more from Annie when she and Becca have a chance to review the work plan. All right, so I'm just going to stop the meeting and call it adjourned at 6 p.m. So thank you very much, guys.